speaking of Yelps, let's get into their first single, which, like I said, I think it goes very much nicely side by side, and it only came like 2 months. It only came out 2 months after the EP, so let's just jump right into It's a New Thing.
I do like the keyboards on this one.
See, this is the first time we hear the keyboards. You know, it says on the last one that that Una is playing the, I think, electric piano, but it's kind of in there in the mix. Yeah, so we start hearing the fall signature, which is like the shittiest keyboard sound you could probably find, the most abrasive keyboard, and it just bounces along.
I was gonna say this has got the punk feel too, right? Like fitting in and make it sound like other things.
Yep. And even when they're slamming the keys at the end of the verses, it's just like, this is not meant to be beautiful. And then the content of this song is, I love this content because he's basically talking about like all this new technology and especially like I think at one point he's even referencing being in the studio and this new technology and how he's got to keep up with it or he's got to use it, and he has no interest in using it because he thinks it's almost going to be like polishing the fall out of itself, right?
Yeah, and like taking him out of it too, right? Where he's writing the lyrics and singing, and he's not really getting to play with any of the toys so much.
Yeah. So on this single, he's already switched out. He's already gotten a new bass player, Mark Riley, who goes on to play the guitar. He plays bass on this, but he becomes the guitar player. And Yvonne comes in and starts playing the keyboards, which... So already within 2 months, he's already changed up the band. And
even said, and Mark was a roadie. He just recruited from the
yeah. Mark and his friends would be going to all the fall gigs because they love the fall, and they would just be like hanging out. And I think one of them had a fall shirt on, and they were talking to Mark, and Mark said, "Are you coming to the next gig?" And they're like, yeah, we're going to be at the next gig. He's like, okay, you can roadie for us then.
Yeah, I think it was,
so you pretty much got in.
I think it was a self-made shirt too, right? Like Sharpie and...
Yeah, but it kind of shows how if you get close to Mark, you have a chance.
Sure.
If you're anywhere in Mark's vicinity, he might give you a chance to be in the fall.
Well,
no matter what's your skill set.
And then... they had a like a practice space next to each other as well in like some warehouse that a bunch of the bands were in.
Right.
It's a new leather thing, baby.
And it's the new thing. I mean, it's just kind of saying, you know, the fall has arrived. So so it's a new thing. Great A-side. But let's look at this album art here as we're flipping it over. And we got the new lineup, and they're all hanging out by this brick wall. They're all looking pretty cool. They're all doing some sort of hand gesture. Are they supposed to be holding up the text?
I think sure.
Yeah, they're holding the text up. But they're looking cool. It looks like there's a bag of trash behind Mark. Actually, know what I think that is? Because he has a song that's called "The Bagman," and he was known for carrying around like a grocery bag full of his stuff, but also like books. So he would always be walking around with this bag full of like books he was reading and like making his way around Manchester with that as the Bagman. But I like this. I like this album cover. You see it. You see Mark Riley in here.
Yeah, you wonder if this was like, you know, he's taking a piss out of the normal bands, right? Like the ba-do, wa-do, like, you know, like that's not what they typically sound like, right? Like, but I can play along. Yeah. I can play along to keep making records.
Yeah. It's also somewhat, if you're in the record store and you see this, you're also thinking, what is the new thing? What is the new thing I can hear? What is the new thing? And this is literally telling you, we're here. The Fall are the new thing. Give it a listen. And then we flip it over and we get into the various times.
Right, we're gonna go back to 1940. No money, and I live in Berlin.
And this is the one where we get introduced to Mark's beautiful, I'm gonna call it a yelp or a screech, but it's almost like his solo accent.
Yeah, it certainly carries through for the rest of the time.
And how he does it, I have no idea. I think it's like this. It's like the perfect combination of number of cigarettes you can smoke, and maybe like getting your voice so that it carries in a crowded pub, so that you can like alert your friend that's coming in. That you're in the back. A little screech, a little yip.
Chicka chicka.
I can't even do it. On this track, the keyboard is really good. I mean, it really fits in well. The first track, it's abrasive to be like kind of almost like a comical circus sideshow nature. And the lyrics in this one are really fun story-wise, because he's almost telling this time travel story of like he goes back, he's like, we're going back in time, and you're almost in some sort of German military environment that's very uncomfortable. And then he goes to 1980, which is, for them, the future. It's time traveling, but it's also traveling across countries, going to Switzerland. And it's this human resistor that and I didn't know he was saying resistor.
Yeah, I mean, in the no man principle, right? Like who he kind of creates himself to be, but
yeah. And this resistor is almost like kind of like traveling across the decades and the eras, but it's always the same type of personality. It's always doing something that's dark, dirty, and then it goes to 1980 and it goes into the future. And we even get a little preview of Salem witch trials at the end. He starts talking about Salem witch trials, human race, time mistaken.
Which is just kind of in his mind, right? Like things haven't changed, things won't change. It's the same kind of miserable, no choice sort of, human experience of.
Yeah. And he's looking at the rest of humanity and being like, there's nothing going on here that is worth saving, almost. Or there's nothing worth, like, being respectful of.
Right. Just do what you want, right? Create your own world, because it's misery otherwise.
Yeah, create your own. Yeah. I live my own rules. I make my own rules.
The man is out there, and he's gonna, try to force you into these situations that you're probably not gonna enjoy.
Exactly. And also, I could see this as being, Mark wrote it, but it's got to be somewhat of, I see a parallel between the way he was looking at some of the music that was out there when he was making this and saying, I don't want to make that. There's no sort of value in that type of music, so I got to make my own. I'm going to make my own rules. I'm going to make my own music. It's not going to be pretty. It's not going to be something that's easily accessible by the human race. So I am the human resistor. I'm going to conduct this, this electricity is going to flow through me. And it's going to spew out in the form of these songs. Okay. And you know what that sound is? The ghost of Mark pouring another Boddington's. It's time to give it a rating. What are you going to give it?
2 songs. Carries through with the other 3. We'll go 7 pints.
7 pints?
7 pints.
I think that's fair. Because they brought in this I like this keyboard accent. But I gotta say, I like the keyboard accent, but it doesn't have the guitar riffage, even the simplistic guitar riffage that I want. So I'm gonna give it 8 Boddingtons and 1 pack of smokes.
Okay.
Because we're gonna need them as we jump into our final couple of cuts for this episode, and that is the Rowche Rumble single. So let's jump into Rowche Rumble.
Rowche, a rumble, a Rowche, a rumble is Valium, 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 Rowche, a rumble, and that's rumble.
The way this one starts is you think you're gonna get like a garage when that drum kind of fill drops in. You kind of think you're gonna get a garage rock hooky classic, but then it just goes into this reminds me a lot of the Mummies.
Yeah, it definitely has that spooky sound, right?
And Mark is a big garage rock fan. He was a big fan of the Seeds and that 60s garage rock sound. And I think might be him doing that kind of, but it has this like speed. It's like they're on speed.
Which may have been the case, even though they're singing about downers, but
I know they are singing about downers. So the Rowche pharmaceutical company, right? What I guess was or is maybe still a huge pharmaceutical company, and when he was working at the docks, there was some sort of miscommunication about some sort of order or shipment, and so all these barbiturates showed up at the docks, and the story goes is that Mark came into handling these barbiturates, and he more or less like hid them all around Manchester for his own benefit and the benefit of others.
Yeah, they are in fact a pharmaceutical company still out of Switzerland.
Still?
Yeah.
Okay, good. I'm glad that Mark didn't put him out of business with that misplacement. This one is so catchy, and it's like it is like kind of starting up like a fucking party. Barbiturate party. This is right before they kick in, though.
Yeah, you're waiting for the barbiturate to kick in and bring you down from the previous speed that you're. You're high. You're feeling too fast. You need to counterbalance.
You just got off of working at the docks, and you had your nice lunch break. You wrote some good words. And you just kind of partake in some barbiturates, have a couple pints, and go to band practice. You're going to have that energy because you're just fucking psyched up before they kick in, and you're rolling along. But then at the end, it starts just falling apart, and then it drops down just to that drum beat. And you hear that his own personal mouth cymbal fill. Good A side. Good A side. Even though that's a good A side, though, I think I actually prefer the B side as my choice cut on this one. So as we flip the record over, what are you feeling about this very minimal album art?
It's a solid 45. You don't expect much. I do appreciate they haven't worked on their penmanship at all, and still just kind of scribble along the bottom there what's going to happen, what you're going to get.
They're kind of carrying the text, like the different text styles through these first few singles and the EP, which is great. And I like that it leaves it open for interpretation about what you might get on this. And I think you get your money's worth because you're not getting it in the album art, you're getting it in the sound, right? And I like the way that In My Area is written at the bottom, where it looks like it's just a design at first, but then it is the other B side, and it's written in that angular. That's cool.
Sure.
And the fall is just blacked out. It's just that block text. It looks nice.
Yeah, and then on the backside it has a little taste of some of the lyrics and what it's going to be about, right?
Yeah, on the backside, doesn't it say like something like
It's basically
written by the fall and with help from above. No, that was the last single. It said like all songs written by the fall or recorded by the fall with help from above.
Oh, beautiful. Yeah, this has got like the last bit of Rowche Ramble basically written out in a small block.
And if you notice, the Rowche Rumble is written on the middle, the drop-in, the label of the 45, and then it goes on to the... would be going on to the record, but it goes onto the sleeve. Like it's part of the same thing.
Sure.
Like they wrote it on there as like a DIY.
And
it's all very DIY, and it sounds DIY.
And they added the W because the Rowche, the pharmaceutical company, is ROCH. So I'm sure somebody was like, "Nope, you can't be the same."
We're not. You guys have only put out a couple things, and we're not going to get sued this early on in your career. Please. We barely got out those first couple. You guys, we got to really be careful here. An interesting fact for this one is, it actually made it to number 31 on the UK indie chart single. So it got around. But the thing is, that was the first week that UK indie chart single actually existed. So
yeah.
They might not have had the best, the best accounting for numbers. And also, if it's the first week that indie chart exists, then they were probably being like, "Oh, is the fall indie?" Definitely.
Sure.
It's definitely independent of everything else.
Yeah, or
that we're
whoever the singular guy was making all of the ratings for that week. What do I like this week?
Yeah. Didn't even listen to it. Just said, "Oh yeah, this," or just like looked at this album cover and said, "Oh, this is definitely indie." They have no money to have anything else on here.
Yeah, they're not from a major city. Probably indie.
All right, let's jump into the last single, B-side of Rowche Rumble, In My Area.
The dwarf plays pool to prove his height. People play games when they lose in life. There's no sport, lad, just has to touch your stomach flesh. Amanda's in my area. I have seen them put the bed. I have seen them climbing.
Some fantastically bad keyboard carrying through again here, where.
Yeah. The combination of the keyboard, which is like, not the correct notes being played, But the combination of that with the strumming guitar, which is not jangly, right? It's like this kind of hollow guitar strumming that just kind of propels it along, is a beautiful bass foundation for Mark to just be scatting over.
Yeah, I mean, with the keyboard and his lyrics, and it feels like a Madman Circus show, basically. Like you're trapped on a carousel while a clown is coming from behind, like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Acid tension stomach flash, a madness in my area. And then he starts saying, I have seen declining tracks. I have seen the madness in my area. Then he says, former friends suck on the fall. Genuine white crap article. This is, I read this as autobiographical as a listener, because he's already gone through people that have left the band.
Yeah,
chosen to leave the band or been kicked out of the band for whatever reason.
Exactly, right? Like, can't remember who I've sacked, right? Just stupid faces.
Yeah.
Which just, like, plays off of, like, he truly sees himself as the only artist and genius in the room, right? Like...
The me generation. He's trying, he's signaling out the me generation and saying there's other, I don't want to be a part of that. I want to be part of this. Making not the declining tracks, but the tracks that are going to be propelling into the future that people will be listening to. I don't see him like thinking that far in the future, though. He was always a very present kind of guy. He was always about what is the next project, but then what is the project of the moment. So when he was done with the project or done with the recording, then it was done. Then what is next? I'm going to start writing again. I'm going to start recording again.
Yeah, just imagine, right? Like just his freaking notebook, and he just turns the page. Okay, on to the next one. Like this has been written, and it's going to be completed, and I can move on.
Yep. And I'll perform these for as long as they're interesting to me. And then once they're not interesting anymore, or I have something new that it takes my, focus and my interest, then that is going to take precedent. Even if it's not as good or technically kind of fleshed out, I'm going to do that more because it's more interesting to him.
Sure, or even what the people necessarily want, right? Like.
Yeah. Yep. Similar to a Bob Dylan, where he was always, bringing back songs as he was playing with the Fall, but when he would bring them back, they would not sound like the recorded version, right? Even he would be changing lyrics, the tempos, obviously, and then even the instrumentation, just to make them more interesting for him to play again and again, and to change up it again and again.
Sure, because if like these things are written in a certain state of mind or a certain time period, right? Like it's not as poignant. To the artist anymore, right? Where you really want it to intrigue people, or at least intrigue the people who are reading and actually, paying attention, versus just like, experiencing it, on the top level.
Totally, absolutely. What overall, these three singles, or the EP and the two singles together, this is a nice taste of what's. Not only what's to come, but like, what they're starting with, which is really already on the base level, super interesting and re-listenable.
Yeah, and
I think that's what it calls for.
Which is super interesting because, they're, brand new, right? And they've already basically concreted what is to come. Whether that was by plan or just by, Mark forcing it, I guess. But they certainly didn't delve too far from the path that they got onto.
No, and everything is based in real world, right? Even though there's aspects of, some sort of alternate dimension of real world, like another aspect of the real world where it's like the dark, seedy underlayer or something like that. Even the first line of Rowche Rumble is the dwarf plays pool to prove his height. That's something that Mark observed, or that's something that pretty close to something that was that was easily conjured up in just his experience, whether it be at the pub or just in the Manchester world scene, right?
Sure, yeah, and like even in like the various times where he's going back to the past, right? Like he's living next to people that fought in the war and experienced the war, and like he's not necessarily like he wasn't there, but I'm sure his dad was there, right? Somebody was there. The guy drinking next to him was there at the pub, like. He sees and he sees in them, what they've experienced.
The madness that could easily be conjured up, especially after a few lagers at the pub, right? Where you could get into it and kind of the abrasiveness and the craze, right? And I think he thrived on that. I think that's why maybe he didn't get along with a lot of straight ahead people that didn't have that edge of some sort of madness that usually spawns creativity, but some sort of interesting characteristic, right? He could associate with.
Sure.
He didn't have time for everything else, the me generation.
No, and I mean, that seems like, who he surrounded himself with and then who he stopped putting up with once they kind of broke out of that normal human experience shell and became something more, or they thought they were something more. He was kind of like, okay, well, you've obviously you're not a fall member anymore. Like, you need to get someone else in here that is more down to earth, or whatever it is.
He needed the resistor. He needed that electricity to be recharged by new blood, fresh blood. And even getting the fresh blood in there has had to be invigorating to him, right? A new sound, a new playing style. All right, I'm gonna give Rowche Rumble. I'm gonna give the Rowche Rumble, I think, 9 barbiturates, because after all of that, even those 3 together, I think I need to calm down. I need to relax.
And then you're gonna go right back into repetition.
And then I'm gonna go right back into repetition and put that on repeat for a good 35 minutes.
Your mom.
7 planes.
Your mom's gonna know something's up.
It's the 3 R's. I just say, Mom, I'm upstairs doing the 3 R's. That's a good boy. Repetition, repetition, repetition. Steve and I are both not experts in the fall, but we hope that this will be a fun journey to go on, because as we experience it fresh and anew, maybe even those people that are fall heads might get something fresh and new out of it. And as we go through it, we're hoping to uncover kind of little nuggets and things that might be interesting, that might have been lost in the very expansive world of the fall. And hopefully, if you can have a Bonington's or a beverage of choice, then you can sit down and hang out with us as we go through the fall's discography, and also related projects that I think are frequently underrepresented as far as ex-fall members, bands, and albums that are some real good classics in there that I think that we'll spend some time with, and I think that'll be interesting to anyone that's interested in Marky Smith and the world of the fall.
It's definitely enjoyable. I think it's going to be fun, and hopefully, get some laughs out of it, and enjoy our experiencing the first time. We're truly kind of diving super deep into what's happening. Whether you're new to this or whether you're an expert, a true fall lover. Hopefully our perspective is unique and, kind of can help you enjoy the music a little bit more.
And hopefully you can hang out with us as we take these one at a time. And if we got anything wrong, let us know and send us a message, and we will not read it, because we actually know pretty much a lot.
Yeah,
about this.
And just like Mark, we love social media, so we won't be responding. We'll be out there. Definitely,
we will
pass us on to your friends. But
yes, please. And if we do have some ideas for some cool guests, but if you have some guests that are out there, get them in contact with us because we will respond to them. So until next time,
we are the fall.
We are the best.